Hi, my name's Alice. I have a 2-year-old son called Finley who has recently been diagnosed with autism, and a partner called Chris who I've been with for nearly 9 years, and that is Finley's dad too. I'm hoping that you find this video because you're looking for some answers like I was. I'm making this because my son had the BOSA assessment, as you're reading on the title. And the first thing I did was Google the hell out of it. I went on YouTube and tried to find any and all videos that I could, and you'll see what I saw. There is only one like vlog style chatty video, and that is by a lady called Jodie Fisher, who I can link down below her video, so you guys can go and watch that too. So I wanted to start with what is a BOSA assessment. So BOSA stands for Brief Observation of Symptoms of Autism. The reason why they have changed the autism assessment is due to the corona pandemic that we've got going on at the moment, as well as my nails. It has impacted everything. It's impacted everyone's lives, including the way that they assess autism. So obviously I'm not an expert, this is just my experience. If you do have any questions for me, I can obviously answer them, but you should be going to your health visitor as well, or if you've got a care coordinator, them as well. So we got the news not long ago that our son was going to have a BOSA assessment. So like I said, you go and Google it, see what comes up. And how I understood it is that they had to change the way that they assessed autism, because with corona and all the PPE and the way that they would have to change the environment, it just wasn't suitable for the children or adults. The way I read it was children, but it was just skewing the results, and it wasn't giving a true reflection, which when you think about it, you can totally understand. Like if you've got a person in a room wearing a mask and a visor and a like a plasticky gown, that's obviously not gonna make you feel very comfortable as a neurotypical person, let alone an autistic child. So they had to change that. So you can have a BOSA assessment in person. You can have one wherever your local buildings are for that. I know some places can be at doctors. For us, if it was in person, it would be at a school. We've got a school nearby, that has a section dedicated for any children with disability needs, autism, and it's brilliant. It's an absolutely amazing school. So they have that section for them. So ours would have been there if we'd had it. So as I said, Jodie's video, which is down below, she had one in a centre or in a doctor's or something like that. So her one is how it reads on the internet, which is that you go into a room, the toys are laid out, the person that's assessing you is either in the corner, just out of the way, they don't really say much, or they can be behind a like glass or plastic partition, which is great as well. So you don't need to worry about any issues, or if your child's having a little meltdown because of the situation, they can take themselves away and just observe behind the window and give you, as mum or dad, any information and to tell you what you need to do. But ours wasn't like that. Ours was a online one, a virtual one, which was absolutely fine. So don't feel like you're missing out or that you would prefer to have one in person, because I know how you feel, and I did feel like that. But now that we've come out the other end, it was absolutely fine, and you'll get through it just fine. So what you'll need to download is an app called WebEx Calling. I never got told that, so I don't want anyone to potentially go for something and not get told this. Obviously you might not, but just download it just in case, because I never got told, and mine was done on WebEx, which was weird because we've had various other consultations online and virtually, and it was done with a text message. So you get a text message and then you go through to an online waiting room. That is what happened this time round for his BOSA assessment. I got a text message with a link, so I just followed it like I had done everything else, and you go into a virtual waiting room, a receptionist comes and greets you, and she did, and she said what we were here for, and she takes some details, and then she puts you forward into another virtual waiting room where you wait for your clinicians or anyone, that doctors, anything that you're waiting for, and then they join in as well. That didn't happen. It was actually awful. We waited for about 25 minutes and no one came. The receptionist came back in and said that we was in the wrong section, which you're just normal people, aren't you? And you're just like, I don't know what that means. So she said, oh, just, hang up from the call and someone will ring you. No one rang me. It was like 10 minutes. We were at this point like 40 minutes into his appointment and still had spoken to no one. It was a 90-minute slot we were given. Oh, it was awful. But eventually we got through to the lady that we needed to see, which was a highly specialist speech and language therapist. She was incredible. Absolutely take my hat off to anyone in the NHS, but she was just incredible. So we managed to get it sorted, and the issue was that I never had received an email with a certain link which would have told me to download this app, and then it automatically sends you into this app and then they join you. A bit like Zoom, like we have been doing in the pandemic. It was basically like that, but a different one. It's free to download. Again, just download it just in case. I don't know whether it will definitely be through WebEx, but ours was, and I didn't download it because I didn't know, and it was just awful. So I finally got this email with the link. So press the link, sent me through to, opened the app automatically on my phone, because we don't have laptops or anything, or we have iPads, but they're a bit old, so we just have phones. So it was all done on my phone, which again, if you don't have a laptop, don't panic, you can do it on your phone. It was absolutely fine on my phone. The sound was fine. We've had a couple where we've been like this, like, pardon? But it was absolutely fine, so don't worry about it being on a phone if you only have access to phones. So she joined. We in the end didn't have a 90-minute appointment. We had a 35-minute appointment, which I don't know whether that was because that's what we needed, or whether that's because all the time was left was about half an hour. But it was fine. We got the result that we wanted. So what she did was, the day before, we had collected a giant bag of toys, and I'm talking giant, like, the big giant Primark like tote bags that you get, like this big. We had one of them that we'd picked up from the school that I mentioned about earlier. We'd picked up our kit, as it's called, but it was just a giant bag full of toys. And she said, oh, can you pick up box 1? Because you're supposed to have box 1 with a set of toys and box 2 with a set of toys. Ours wasn't that. It was literally just a giant bag of toys. But again, don't panic. They are the almighty amazing ones. She knew exactly what I needed to grab, so she told me to grab this toy and this toy. So we had, in the first round, I think there was some blocks, there was a truck, I think. So it doesn't matter what they ask you to grab, but the point is that don't worry, they'll tell you what to grab. So we grabbed out some toys, and then you play. You just try and play, interact with your child. Only one of you, doesn't need two of you. So I did it, and then Chris held the camera, just to make sure that she saw everything. So she was brilliant. If she needed to see Finley's face a little bit more, she would say, Dad, can you just move it a little bit closer or move it away? So she gave out perfect instructions. You didn't feel anxious about anything. So we just played. If your child's anything like Finley, he doesn't play. His play is sensory, so he likes Play-Doh, he likes painting, but like with his hands. He likes the magic sand. What else does he like? He likes more physical play, so like for him, he will rough and tumble with Chris, and that's kind of the way he plays. So he doesn't physically play with toys, so it's quite difficult. We do try, obviously, but it's quite difficult to get him interested in things. So he was obviously doing the blocks, and Finley was just throwing them. He throws everything, literally anything. He has like a trolley of food, and that just gets flinged everywhere. So yeah, he just like fling the blocks around, which is fine. Again, don't worry what they do, because the whole point is to assess what they're like in real life. That's the point of it. It doesn't matter if they don't play with the toys, or they don't like build the blocks, or they don't play with the piano or whatever the toys are that you get given, it doesn't matter. They're not necessarily looking at their play, they're looking at everything. They're looking at their face, they're looking at their hands, they're looking at their attention span. Don't worry. So we play with the toys, she watched, then you do that for 4 minutes, and then you play with bubbles for 2 minutes, and then you do another play with set 2, so she'll tell you another set of toys to get out for another 4 minutes, and then you go back to the bubbles for another 2 minutes. We didn't go back to the bubbles though, but it does say on your leaflet that you'll go back to the bubbles for another 2 minutes. We didn't, which is fine because obviously she saw what she needed to see. Finley has a really short attention span, and he'll just flit off and go upside down, or wander off down the hallway and put his hand through the letterbox. So again, don't worry, just do what you can do, and then they'll assess what they see, which is the whole point of it, because if you went into one of these assessments and you passed everything, maybe this isn't the right assessment for you. So yeah, it was absolutely fine. So once she was happy, she then said, like, Guy, Alice and Chris, I'm ready to like present my findings to you. So Finley went off and did his own bits. She said that she saw everything that she needed to see, and pretty much everything that she did see was typical in autism, which obviously we know this has been going on for a long time. If you'd like me to do a video about our timeline of our experience, then I'm more than happy to do that. I just wanted to do this one obviously to like put it out there, as there isn't much out there, but I can do that, and I can go into detail of like each stage that we went through. But she'd said that she was more than happy with what she'd seen. She was more than happy to support the diagnosis of autism, which we were like, like music to our ears. It's absolutely fine. That's what we wanted out of this. We wanted that diagnosis. For us, and especially me, I have known that he's autistic since he just turned 1. It was he 1 and a bit, 1 and 1 month, something like that. I just knew, like, I'd mentioned it to my manager at work, and I just knew, like, it was within me. I knew it, I'd accepted it, and it's weird. Just, yeah, follow your instincts. I'm going off on a tangent. So anyway, yeah, so she totally supported the diagnosis of autism. She'd seen what she needed to see, seen that he'd had sensory processing issues, in the sense that he like overused it, not that he was scared of textures. Like there was like a little like a sand block, you know, that you'd sand down a wall with. There was one of them in there, and he'd obviously put it straight in his mouth because he puts everything in his mouth. And she said him going upside down, because he's always upside down, you wouldn't believe it. Like watches watch telly upside down, and for him he's having a great time and whatever, and he walks up and down the walls, and he'll touch the walls as he goes. And even now he's at the park, I can see him at the park with his dad, but as he walks through the park, he'll walk like the same way, but he will touch the same things as he goes. So he's very, very sensory, and like I said earlier, with how he plays, it all just links up beautifully. He's currently non-verbal, so he doesn't speak at all. He'll be 3 in September, and we have no speech. That doesn't mean that he doesn't tell us what he wants. So for us, he pulls us to places where he wants. So if he wants to play with his puzzles, which I kept in our like our puff or footstool or whatever you call it, he'll like pull our hands and put it on the footstool, which obviously we know that the puzzles are in there, so he wants to do puzzles. Or he'll pull you out to the kitchen because he wants a snack, or he'll bring his bottle to you. So for him, it's such a good thing that he's worked out how to communicate, as some children really struggle with that. So she said that she'd heard him humming and seen certain things, so but everything she saw was typical in autism, so she was more than happy to support the diagnosis. For us, which differs with Jodie's video, is she said that her BOSA assessment was the initial start of the diagnosis, and now all children are completely different, and all doctors and where you are in the world do things completely differently, but this isn't the case for us. We were told by this lady that there is a 3-step process to their diagnosis. The first one was a MDA meeting, which is a multidisciplinary assessment. Again, I can go into more detail, but essentially it was a paediatrician and a speech and language therapist. We had a virtual meeting for 2 hours and it was intense, let me tell you. So we had that first. Then they speak to your health visitor and do, she called it a one-on-one test. I'm guessing it was a point scoring test that my health visitor had to answer. We don't really have much to do with our health visitor anymore. She wasn't very helpful in the first place, really. She was always telling me I was never going to get a diagnosis and that he's too young. But all I'm saying is please don't let that put you off. Please don't feel upset when people say that. Just keep pushing, because that's the only advice that I can give. I didn't listen to anyone when they said you won't get this or you won't get that or they wouldn't put you forward for that, and I wasn't having any of it. So just stay strong, stay consistent, give as much detail as you can, because you will get there. So yeah, she got so that was part 2, speaking to the health visitor, and then part 3 is her. So the BOSA assessment was part 3, and that's how she explained it to us. So what she needed to do after our meeting was go back to the paediatrician that we'd seen, and he was a specialist disability paediatrician, and what they would do was combine what he had put together and combine her notes or bits and bobs, and then they combine it together and give me a final report with a final diagnosis, which obviously we haven't had yet because it was only a couple of days ago that we had the meeting. But he agreed with autism as well, and he put us forward for the BOSA assessment, which obviously to diagnose autism. So we're more than happy, and the way that it was left was that we were going to get this diagnosis of autism, and that's how we're steaming on with it. So yeah, that's kind of like the brief outline of it. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much or made you feel uncomfortable. I was just hoping to help and give my 2 pence in. Like I said, if you need me to do a video about like everything, I can do that. I'm more than happy to lay out how the MDA meeting went if you've got one coming up, or I can just talk to you. Just go on my Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram down below and just send me a message. I'm more than happy to reply to anything, just to see if I can help, really. So I think that's it. Thank you. I don't really know what this is. I don't know. Subscribe maybe. I don't know. We'll just see. We'll just see what happens. If it picks up, then great. But I hope that even if one person sees this and it helps you and it makes you feel more comfortable, that's what I've done, because I know that that's what I was looking for when I was told that this was going to happen, and just gives you a different point of view. You've obviously got Jodie's video, which gives you how her family went down it in person, and then this one, which is obviously the online one. So don't worry if you're going to have one virtually, because it isn't. You're not going to be treated any differently. You're just going to have an online one. Yes, it's different, but you're not going to be treated any differently. And just stay strong, stay positive. And yeah, so thank you for listening to me rambling. That was absolutely terrifying. But I'm glad I've done it, because yeah, if it helps one person, then I've done a good job. So